Hey guys, this is Thomas over here at nursemoneytalk.com. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the time a couple years ago when I started NP school. And, I was going to go to nursing grad school, and I had started full time. And then I switched to part time. And then ultimately I ended up dropping the whole thing entirely. Now, the state of, pandemic did have a little bit of a role to play into my decision in the end. There are some other key factors that I think that I'm going to talk about in this video that I think will impact you if you decide that you want to go through NP school, and ultimately, hopefully you will end up actually finishing it. Before I get into that, if you're not already subscribed, I want to go ahead and invite you to hit that subscribe button on this channel. I talk about all things related to nursing, student, and of course, nurse life. The one other thing is that if you are considering going to grad school, make sure you search for a school by going to nursemoneytalk.com/schools. You can find, top choices of schools, based on if you want a traditional, hybrid, or 100% online option. So definitely check that out. nursemoneytalk.com/schools. Let's go ahead and get right down to it. I'm going to give you guys actually some reasons why I think so many students, so many nurses start grad school. This could be NP school, CRNA school, whatever the case may be, with the best intentions in the world, and then ultimately end up not finishing. The first reason is that it's a huge time commitment. And I don't think that was something that I could really appreciate on my own. Or I don't think that's something I could appreciate until I actually started school. And I think it was because I've been out of school for so long. And so just getting back into it, it's a huge time commitment. And then on top of that, like when you're going back to school, right? Now, if you are younger and you have no spouse, no kids or anything like that, that obviously, will play a big role on your side, in the sense of like, you don't have to have your time split in so many places. But if you are a non-traditional student, like you're just going to be split in so many different directions that ultimately it's going to be hard for you to try to manage it. Not saying you can't get it done, right? It's just something that you really just have to think about. But what you'll see from this list is that it's not just one thing. It's going to be a combination of a series of things that are going to make things difficult. The second reason I'm going to give is that it's going to be a huge financial commitment, right? I think, when I was going through school, I was trying to pay it as I go. And, it's a lot of money that's being spent. And it's not something that a lot of people can afford to do. And ultimately, even if you can afford to do it, it's a huge sacrifice. And even if somebody's going to, come to the other side and they're going to say, well, you could have just gotten student loans for it. And I would have been like, okay, that's not free money. That still has to be paid back with interest. And currently, as it is, you are, if you look at the state that people get in with student loans, you're pretty much like shackled to it. You can't even bankrupt out of it. Pretty much probably like one of the only debt that you can't really bankrupt yourself out of it, or be able to really get breathing room from it if it becomes too much. And so, to me, like getting more student loans, which I already do have some, was not something that I personally wanted to explore. The third reason, and this is one that I think if you are a traditional student, so if you're going straight from nursing school to a grad school, you might not appreciate this as much. But if you are a non-traditional student, you've been out of school for a couple of years, you will appreciate this next reason which is that going back to school when you've been out for so long sucks. It is awful. I mean, when you are used to working, coming back and not having to deal with anything else, and now you have to work, come back, study. Like if you've been out of the game for so long, you probably then will have to relearn how to study. There is a skill to studying. There is a skill to taking notes. There is, similar to how we'll always say, oh, nurses need to go to med surg or whatever to learn time management and blah, 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 and all this other stuff, which if you listen to any of my videos, then you will know that I'll say that I don't think that matters. I think you learn the skill sets, how to pace yourself, how to manage your time in whatever specialty you're in. And that is absolutely the same with studying and going to school. You learn how to manage your time, how to prioritize. Just, another way to kind of call it is like getting like a good ebb and flow rhythm of what you're going to do. And when you've been out of it for so long, I mean, it's hard to try to get back into rhythm of doing things. The next reason is that something that you may find yourself thinking about is that you might sit back and you might think to yourself, is it even financially worth it to go back to school? Like, I know plenty of nurses who are killing it, making more money than some nurse practitioners. Now, granted, they're probably doing like travel nursing and all this other stuff. The main thing is that if you're making really good money, is it financially worth it? Now, I remember when it was in one of the Facebook groups I had posted asking questions about pay. It was an NP Facebook group. I posted asking questions about pay, like trying to get a feel for, is it worth it? Is there going to be a return on my investment? Like, this is, as somebody who graduated from the college of business, like that's just how my mind's wired. And I remember that there were a lot of nurses, nurse practitioners, or whatever they were in that group. I mean, they just came after me saying like, well, you shouldn't do this for the money and blah, blah. It should be for this and that and whatever. Listen, that's a load of BS. I mean, let me just call it for what it is. I am not saying that money is like the end all be all or whatever the case may be, but we're not working for free, right? Money, that is the ability for me to be able to have a roof and shelter over my head, take care of my family, take care of my loved ones. My son's in daycare. That is not cheap. That takes money. And so this notion of just spending and not even thinking about what is going to be the return on that investment, the return on your time. I'm not like, if you have like the time and the money and the resources or whatever to do that, and that's just a personal goal of yours, that is 100% okay with that. Like, that is 100% fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just saying for a lot of you out there, like, you are going to have to think about, is this going to be financially like worth it to you? Especially for some of you guys that will end up enrolling in like private programs and very, very expensive programs. You have to think about, like, especially if you take out that student loan, you got to think like, am I going to make enough money back to pay off these student loans? Because I've met people who come out of nurse practitioner school. I think they'll do like family, and they'll come out with 6 figures worth of student loans. That's a lot. And especially with, some stuff that insurance is doing in terms of, I remember a couple years back, like, I think it was like if you were a family nurse practitioner. I think one of the insurances, they weren't going to credential you if you were working in certain areas. And so it kind of changed up the entire game, if you will, and led to some nurse practitioners ended up losing their jobs because of that. But these are all things that honestly you have to think about. The last point, and this kind of ties everything together, because this might not be one singular factor. It could be a series of factors. And that is, nurses will end up quitting nurse practitioner school or CRNA school, grad school, whatever, because then they question, is this what they really want to do? And that is a question that you'll have to ask yourself. Is this what you really want to do? Do you want to invest this time, money, resources, whatever, to do X, Y, and Z? Is there something else you'd rather do? Get out of patient care entirely? Is going to grad school going to facilitate you getting out of patient care? Essentially, find out what is your goal, and then see if going to grad school ends up fitting within that goal. I think I kind of rambled on a little bit, but this was just kind of some thoughts that I was sharing about, all the little, kind of like little scenarios and whatnot that I ran to myself, like when I was going out of grad school and ultimately stopped. But let me know if you have any questions in the comment sections below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you very soon in that next video.